My name is Jesse Davis, host of the Penthouse Podcast, where I interview a lot of my longtime friends, some of the members of my club, and some of Wilmington's finest people. I am so excited to do this show. Thank you. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Penthouse Podcast. Today I have a few prosecutors from the New Hanover County Courthouse. Correct, New Hanover County. I don't know if Amy White is here. She's going to be my co-host today. She works with the gentleman, right? Correct.
Yes.
So, Amy, first of all, let's talk about what you do before we go into the prosecutors.
So I'm an assistant district attorney in New Hanover County. I prosecute mostly low-level felonies at this point. I've been doing this. It'll be 10 years in October.
Good God.
So, yeah.
It's amazing. God, I could ask you 100 questions right now. But so we've got Brad Matthews and Sean Spiering, and they're prosecutors. And so we have an assistant DA and prosecutors today. So this is exciting. And a lot of people have asked me a lot of questions about, what do they actually do? Like, I mean, we know that you're like solving murders and, hopefully keeping people off the streets that, are causing trouble and all that. But what is the prosecutor? Like, what does a prosecutor do? Brad? Sean?
Brad.
I'll take it. Yes, sir. So prosecutor, basically any time the police initiates any kind of action, whether it be a speeding ticket or a first-degree murder, robbery, anything in between, it goes through the courthouse, and the prosecutor has to handle the matter. So basically on the low-level end, prosecutors are handling traffic tickets. They're doing reductions on traffic tickets or trials on low-level misdemeanors. And then it's the district court level. And then for more serious crimes like felonies, in the Superior Court level, you have prosecutors doing trying those cases or pleading those cases, anything up from a drug possession case all the way to a first-degree murder case. So basically any crime that occurs in North Carolina, a prosecutor ultimately handles disposition of that particular crime or offense.
We represent the state of North Carolina. So, like, if someone commits a crime, even if there's a victim, even if there's a murder and someone has been killed and they're the victim of that crime, the state of North Carolina is the one who is against the defendant. So we represent, our client is the state of North Carolina and, the people.
Sort of understanding, what roles, too.
Yeah.
What side are you, fighting for the bad guy? Are you fighting for the good guy? The victim,
It's probably a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of people in the public, and I'm shocked to see, and obviously Hollywood's done a good job of showing the prosecutor dramatizing in Law & Order and this movie and this crime documentary. But when I really talk to the public, they really don't know the nuts and bolts of what we do, and you've heard that. So Brad just told you anytime that a law enforcement agency, Wilmington Police Department, Carolina Beach Department, they arrest somebody for breaking and entering, for possession of cocaine.
Domestic violence.
Those files and everything that comes along with collecting the facts, i.e. body camera footage, reports, lab reports.
Any evidence you can get.
All the evidence, all the facts. They come to our desks. And our job is to see what the next step, what does justice look like for that case? Are we going to try that case in front of a jury? Are we going to give a plea deal in that case? Is it going to be probation or prison?
Who makes that decision?
The prosecutor.
We do.
We do, yeah.
Okay.
And so
very
that's
cool.
very important. You are a minister of justice. It is a very important position.
What inspired you to do this?
For me,
Did you start as a lawyer, correct, maybe?
I was in the military,
Okay.
military police, and loved it. Got out,
So
knew I wanted to go to college, and became a probation officer. Made very little difference. In an imperfect system, you're designed to have 50 cases, but you have 120. So it's imperfect. And plus, I was like, this isn't for me. I want to do more. I want to work in criminal justice, and for me, that was to be a prosecutor. So.
Same for you?
Yeah, I always liked the role of prosecutor growing up. I was into kind of criminal justice growing up and watching trials on TV. I don't have a law enforcement background. Both of these actually do. Amy's father was a SBI agent, and
No way.
Sean was in probation. So I didn't have that background, law enforcement background. But I just interned actually the DA's office in High Point in law school and just loved it. And that kind of with my criminal law just is the most interesting kind of law. Law in general, law school is just boring. There's a lot of contracts, property stuff that is just boring. And criminal law is by far the most exciting.
More exciting.
Yeah,
So that's why I decided to go this
range.
route and have enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, I'm from Wilmington, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. My dad was an SBI agent, and I was in college. And I was like, maybe I'll be like a therapist, and I'll help people who were like
Downplay it a little
victimized.
bit.
And everyone who'd ever met me was like, oh God, that's a terrible idea. But my dad's like, well, let me introduce you to Connie Jordan. And she's like this legendary prosecutor at our office. And she's incredible and
Role model.
a role model. And so, not even knowing what I wanted to do, I went and I met with her in her office, learned a little bit about her job as prosecutor. She was mostly prosecuting crimes against children and sexual assaults, and I was like, she's the coolest person who's ever lived, and I just want to follow her around. So I interned here and completely decided to go to law school. So and now I work with her. Now she's
So
a
as an
colleague.
assistant DA, so you're obviously at some point want to move up to a district attorney.
So we are all the same.
Necessarily.
Okay,
Not
okay.
necessarily,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all ADAs. There's only one DA and there's 20 ADAs. So
Okay.
basically both the district, which is New Hanover and Pender counties, elects one district attorney, which is Jason Smith.
He
elected
took
by-
over, so Ben and John, I know both of them really well,
Yeah.
adore both of them.
Ben retired in September. There was a special election in November. Jason won that election, so he took over. He's actually got to run again in 2026 because it was a special, so he's going to be the DA for the next 2 years. Hopefully he will win re-election in 2026 and keep his spot, but he's only one of him. Everyone else is an ADA. So
How do they even get comfortable at that point in 2 years? It's like you can't really get your mojo
Yeah.
until...
It is. That's why he's really, he's
Yeah.
pushing hard to keep position. He's done a great job, honestly.
He's
since
hit the
he's been
ground
in
running.
Yeah, really.
Like his first month in office, first full month in office, he tried a first-degree murder case.
Wow.
So,
Speaking of murder cases, I know that somebody here just won a murder trial.
We did. Me and
We did,
Amy actually
Okay.
just tried a 5-week murder trial.
Can you go into that, like talk details, or is there a lot
I
of
suppose, so we can talk about,
confidentiality?
I don't want to give names out, but
Okay.
we can talk about
Yeah.
the general fact patterns
Okay.
of it. It was a kind of youth violence, gang retaliation situation where you had a individual shot in the morning that was a member of the Double I Bloods in town. Some of his friends, 4 of his friends, got together and decided to do a retaliatory shooting against a member of the Gangster Disciples that they kind of pinpointed because they already had prior beef with them and he was the other side of town. So they basically at 3 o'clock in the afternoon drove across town, parked their car, got out of the car and shot this guy 16 times,
Good
35 shots, right in front of his apartment complex. All the bullets went into everyone else's apartment. 3 other apartments.
This was
were
here in
lit up-
town?
Here in town, right here in Buckingham Avenue off 17th Street in Wilmington.
Scary.
And so, yeah, there was four people altogether. It was one of those cases where actually, usually you have four defendants. It's hard to get justice for everybody, but I think this was the right result for everybody. One defendant pled that was involved in second-degree murder. One defendant pled to a accessory after the fact, the driver. One defendant pled to was juvenile, pled to a lesser murder as well. And then one defendant went to trial, the most culpable, and he got convicted of a first-degree murder after a 5-week trial. So it was a tough case. Defense attorney did a great job, Steve Wright. But at the end of the day, justice prevailed. We commend the jury for doing a great job with it. But it was a tough battle. One of those that it's just going to trial is just literally one of the toughest things to do as a prosecutor or any kind of trial attorney because you're literally public speaking all day for 8 hours, and then that night you pretty much have to prep for the next day in court. So you're just nonstop for about 4 weeks, day and night.
I know I don't see you guys for a couple months sometimes. They're like,
Exactly.
oh, we're in a
Yeah,
murder
that's
trial.
what
We're in a
doing,
murder
yeah.
trial.
Yeah, we're in court all day, and then you're exhausted. You don't want to do anything else, but you got to leave court to prep for the next witnesses the next day. And that's kind of what we did for all the month of April and early May, me and Amy. So it was a very
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. But yeah, that happened in Wilmington. There's a whole new world that people don't know about here.
You do
I think.
feel justice was served in this situation?
100%.
Yeah.
It was. Honestly, a lot of cases I can't say that happened just because stuff happens and you can't give justice to the fullest. This was a case where I thought everyone got the right outcome.
We said it's all factual, so you have to prove
Yeah.
facts.
Yes,
You
you have
can't
to
just
prove
say,
facts, yes.
this is
Yeah.
what I saw, or this is what happened. It's got to
Right.
be like, what?
The
yeah.
burden of proof is the toughest thing for a prosecutor. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. So if I wouldn't prosecute a case if I didn't think the defendant committed the crime. But that's not really the question. The question is, can we prove it beyond a reasonable doubt? Can we actually go to court and have 12 people say, he definitely committed this crime and the elements of that crime? And that's hard to do a lot of times. Sometimes you have to give lesser plea offers because you can't prove it. This case, we had the evidence to do it, but it's tough to build a case as a prosecutor.
Do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, our job is you get all these lawyers, a defense attorney, a prosecutor in a room, and the idea is to call witnesses to the stand to get to the truth of what happened. And we, the government, are accusing somebody of committing the crime. The burden for us, we have the burden as prosecutors.
Okay.
The defense, they can play Candy Crush, they can do nothing, they can ask no questions. They don't have a burden. The prosecutors do. So we have the burden to put on this evidence, to have this jury know the facts and get to the truth of what happened. And as Brad said, the proof that we had to do that is beyond a reasonable doubt. That's our burden.
And what, Amy?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough position but it's also kind of freeing because you want to do the right thing.
Exactly.
And that's what I really enjoy about this position.
Yeah, like other attorneys are beholden to a client. So most attorneys, somebody hires them, and their job is to represent that person. Whether it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, they have to represent that person. We're work for the government, so we're supposed to do what is right. That's where our calling is. Whether it's the thing that's best for the victim or best for the defendant, we have to kind of look at the case and figure out what is the true justice in the case, and that's what our job is to do. So it's nice to be able to kind of help the community and kind of figure out what is the best result for the community in a particular case. And every case is kind of depends on what that is.
That kind of goes into this question. It says, well, how do you really decide or pick which cases to prosecute?
Yeah.
Like how do you basically you want to go for what's fair? And
There's a term that is called prosecutorial discretion.
prosecutorial
Discretion. So I told you all these files, these law enforcement officers, they drop off their facts. They say, here you go, Amy. Here you go, Brad, Sean. Here's this case against State versus Mr. Brooks or whatever. And we get to decide what form of justice that takes. So prosecutorial discretion means, is this one, do we make a plea offer in this case? Do we not? Does that plea offer mean prison, probation? So we decide what the next steps and whether to prosecute. Sometimes, do we want to prosecute at all? Do we have to dismiss it?
so there's so many different, I guess, like there's public defenders.
Yeah.
And so how do they all kind of come in with this?
So the DA's office has all the different. They're prosecuting our case. On the defense end, if you can't afford an attorney, you can apply for a court-appointed attorney, and that is usually a public defender from public defender's office. If you have the money to hire an attorney, you would hire a private attorney. So basically, public defenders and defense attorneys are essentially serving the same role. They're just one is getting paid by the state to do it because the clients are indigent, and the other defense attorneys are getting paid by the client because the client can afford them. So.
And you see in some of these, is this like just for the movies, or is this really happen in court where people can fire their attorney and just do their own case?
It happens all the
I
time.
watched The Joker last night, and that kind of happened.
Yeah, no, that actually is we have trials through New Hanover County. We had one last year where midway through trial, defendant said, "I'm going to run the case myself."
Done with you. You're screwing me up here.
And he tried the rest of it himself. I mean, it happens actually a lot. I actually tried a murder with a pro se defendant because he didn't want an attorney.
A lot of Latin terms in the practice of law, and pro se is the term for an individual representing him or herself.
Per se.
They're like just going to take a big leap of faith there.
Yes. Usually didn't work out their way, but you never know what a jury will do. So.
Have you ever had any major doubts about a case, and how did you handle it?
Well, the burden is beyond a reasonable doubt. So if we have doubts, it's okay to have some doubts. If there's a reasonable doubt, we're not prosecuting it.
Got it. You
Point
just
blank.
pass it on or just not handle it.
Yeah.
If we can all agree, if we didn't watch a crime happen, we weren't there, you may have some doubts as to how it went down, right? Because you're kind of putting the pieces together. But if there's a reasonable doubt, we're as prosecutors, we want to do what's right. We want justice to prevail, and sometimes that means that we don't move forward on a case.
Because you all take an oath, right?
Correct.
So what does that consist of? Is that like right when you get the job? Is it like a sworn-in thing? Or?
It's kind of
both, actually.
Yeah. Well, you take an oath to be a lawyer, just to uphold the Constitution and your ethics, and then when you're sworn in as an ADA, and then every time we have a new election, we do it as well.
And this is every 2 years, it seems like.
Every 4 years.
Okay.
This is
This is
two
a
because
special
of special
circumstance.
situation.
Okay.
Been leaving early, so that's why it's 2 years. Usually it's every 4. The terms every 4, and every 4 years the sworn in. It's uphold the Constitution, administer justice to the best of your ability. Just kind of a general oath of office that you do for someone that is administering justice and in charge of trying to help the community as a whole. So.
Who do you work for? Who actually is your boss? The
Jason's-
judge or like?
Well, Jason Smith is our
Yeah.
elected DA, so
Okay.
he's our boss.
He writes your check.
Well, the state of North
Carolina.
The state of
Yeah, I was
North,
like, gosh,
the state
that's
of North
so
Carolina actually is our employer per se. It's administration officer courts. It's a North Carolina government position where they write all the checks for all the prosecutors. But our elected DA is Jason Smith, who is in charge of hiring, firing.
And we're like appointed officials.
Okay.
Like we're kind of. We're like effectively
So
appointed.
none of you actually had to run yet.
Correct.
No,
for a
no, no,
position.
no.
Only
So-
one person has to run, Jason, and he builds the whole office.
He builds his office,
And
okay.
then we all take oaths, and we serve at the pleasure of.
assistant DA is an assistant to the district attorney. We're like his
and that's what you're
deputies.
doing right now.
Yeah, that's what
All
all
of
of
you,
us
all of
do.
you.
Yeah.
All the same.
I guess
Prosecutor,
prosecutor.
assistant
What's the
district
difference
attorney.
in that?
It's the same thing. It
Okay.
just,
Yeah.
Some states call them different things besides ADAs, and have to call solicitors or something like that. But so that's why prosecutors are a general term. But North Carolina, all prosecutors are assistant district attorneys, or
Okay.
district attorneys like district attorneys.
See, that's a good thing to know.
So
I would-
every assistant district attorney serves out the will of the district attorney. So Jason could say, "Hey, your no service is no longer needed if you want to."
They'll
Like,
fire
that will
you.
never happen.
Yeah.
I would like to think, but we serve at the will of the district attorney. So, but we also work for the people. We represent the community. So Jason Smith's boss is the people. Ours too, in a shorter sense, but
Okay.
yeah.
So each the three of you, being sort of the same position, so if you want to go around first, like where do you plan on going next? Do you want to do what you're doing for a long term, or like do you see yourself doing something else?
I'm happy where I am. Like, I think I'll probably be doing this for
How long have you been?
Almost 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm,
You know what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, so I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I mean, we switch sometimes caseloads in the office, and but I'm happy where I am right now. So.
What about you, Brad?
Yeah, same thing. We actually all have different caseloads, so we're a little different in our assignments. Amy handles the H&I, which are lower level felonies, but she also has some murders as well as she did with me. I do gang and gun crimes, and then Sean does drug crimes. So
Gang and guns and
gang
drugs.
guns.
My
So
God.
we all kind of have different roles in the office. But yeah, I'm very happy that I've been doing it for 14 years now. I was a district attorney, ADA in Onslow County for 4 years, and then been here, I guess almost 10, about 9.5 here in New Hanover. But yeah, I've enjoyed it, and one of those things that I always said that unless I just couldn't afford it or just didn't want to do it, I would stop. But I've enjoyed every minute of it for the most part, and so I definitely want to stay what I'm doing. So.
Agree. I'll just echo what they've said. I've been doing it going on 9 years, and it's a calling, and I love waking up in the morning and doing this, collaborating with law enforcement and helping the public. It's a great job.
Do you ever like have disagreements amongst yourselves?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Quite a bit, right, Brad?
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Every
But Brad and I just tried a 5-week trial
yeah,
together.
we had quite a bit of Spanish there.
Switch seats, actually.
Quite a bit. But every big case, we have what's called a critical case review in the office, where we get all the prosecutors together and we kind of analyze the case, strengths, weaknesses, and is this a case that we can prove or not? And yeah, a lot of times we'll have disagreements in those. And just general, every prosecutor's a little different. Some are, really tough on crime, but more aggressive, and some are more, hey, this issue's here, more lenient. And so we put all that together as a kind of a knowledge base as a whole, and kind of make decisions on how to handle cases. And that's kind of the best way to do it. But yeah, there's definitely not every prosecutor's the same. Opinions differ, on how to handle cases differ. That happens all the time. That's just kind of any working environment we have.
Yeah, of course you're gonna
Yeah.
butt heads with.
Yes, exactly. That definitely does happen.
We do have, even differing views though. Everyone's very respectful and works together. We just have a great office as far as collaboration. Even if you don't agree with someone, it's not like bad.
Yeah,
it's not
of
bad.
course.
It's be all right.
Agree to disagree. And,
Yeah.
And as far as I've said this a couple times with a lot of the members of the club. All of you are basically members. Your mom, she's been on the board for Forward Motion Dance,
Yeah.
and you two have been around for a long time, and I appreciate that. But it's crazy because I know that you all work together under these high stressful situations. Then you duke it out in the courtroom. Then you come here, and it's like you guys are all just friends again.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
it's like taking the hat off and putting it back on, and not taking that out of the courtroom into your own personal
100%.
life.
I mean, attorneys have a job. We have a job. You can't take things personally in the job. I mean, it's work, and their job is to represent a client. Our job is to defend the state, and at times that's adversarial in nature. But at the end of the day, everyone's doing their job, and there's rules of evidence and rules of professional responsibility that guide how you do those jobs. And as long as everyone's in those rules, then everyone's doing the right thing for themselves and for their clients and for the state here. And so there's no reason to have a grudge. And yes, I have several friends who are defense attorneys. I know Sean and Amy do as well. There's no reason to have it's not like it's on TV where you hate the other side or like that. That's just kind
Like slashing each other's tires
Exactly,
in the parking lot.
exactly. We're all attorneys. We all have different roles in the system, and the system has to work like it does because every defendant has a right to a counsel, and the state has a right to be represented as well by us. So it's
I'll
how it goes.
piggyback off that. Brad used this word adversarial. That doesn't mean that we're sworn enemies. That means that our interests are different, and that we have to find the truth on our separate sides and come to an understanding of what the truth is in any case. So we're not sworn enemies. We very much are colleagues, and all the defense, it's called the bar. The attorneys, our local bar, I like to think that we're pretty close-knit defense attorneys, prosecutors alike, and any other
I adore so
attorney.
many of you. Like, it's crazy. I've been saying forever I want to go sit there and just watch you all in action. Because you come up here and see me, like, running around, and throwing parties and more of the entertaining side of things. But just to see all, I can do, like, how can one just go into a courtroom and...
All courts are open.
Okay.
It's your courtroom.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say you can watch a whole murder trial. Now, it's not like it's on TV where it's all super interesting all day long. Some days are CSI days, and you're just putting a bunch of evidence. It's really boring. But there's definitely parts that are like closing arguments are always some things that you want to see.
Are you allowed to give me the heads up when, like, a good one to come to?
100%. Yeah.
All right, guys, if you're out there listening,
Exactly.
you want to go see a live courtroom, some courtroom action right over here around the corner.
There's a murder trial going on right now that's probably have closing arguments next week, which will be an interesting case, the True Colors murder. So, there's always just interesting something going on in the courthouse.
True Colors murder. Tell me more.
This pending case, there's only so much we can say. We're bound by some code of ethics.
I understand there's a big part of confidentiality here.
There's a pending homicide trial going on right now, but there's some rules that guide what we can and can't say.
Means
That
like
It means
Murder.
like
Murder, okay.
Yeah.
no.
I mean,
I know, we're so like
Yeah.
technical.
Homicide literally means one person taking another's life.
Okay.
So that could take a bunch of different variations. A lot of people think of first-degree murder, but it could be, vehicular manslaughter. It could
What's
be.
the difference in first degree and second degree?
It's a great question. Premeditation and deliberation.
Okay.
So
Somebody
first-degree
thought
murder.
about it before.
Yes,
and
no
then
matter how short a
executed
time.
it. Okay. They
And
can think about it in 5 seconds before.
That's it.
Yeah.
so if we were just fighting and I got a knife and stabbed you, that probably wouldn't be premeditation deliberation. But if I said, well,
I'm going to stab you.
Yeah.
I'm going to stab you, and you pick a knife and stab you. Then
Okay.
it could be a second. It doesn't have to be like a month in advance or a week in advance. It can be a second in advance. But if you think about committing that crime, committing that murder beforehand, that can be premeditation deliberation. That's first-degree murder.
So you got first-degree murder, second-degree murder. You've got voluntary manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter.
That's like a car accident, right? It's like some people
Correct,
like
yeah, if you're-
drunk
Could be.
driving, that's
But-
involuntary.
We don't accident. That's
Okay.
that's a weird
Loose
word
word.
to yeah, exactly. But a vehicle wreck, it could be murder. It could be first. It could be second. It could be involuntary manslaughter. It's probably not going to be voluntary manslaughter. Voluntary manslaughter usually means you maybe had some form of self-defense, but you went too far. You brought the gun to the knife fight, etc.
Okay. So you're adding to the crazy.
That's right. Or the heat of passion, which is a classic case. You catch your lover in bed with somebody
You
else.
get a lot of those? These sluts running around.
Get a few.
Every now and then.
Every now and then, yeah. It happens.
What's next? What's the big? Do you have any big murder cases coming up? Or do you get to take a little downtime after this last one?
Yeah, honestly, typically we only try with 1 or 2 murders a year. I would say we may actually have one scheduled. We finished a 5-week one now. We've got one scheduled for September, so we have one lined up
Yeah.
then.
I have
Sean
one
and
scheduled
I've
for
got
June.
one in August.
you might have 3 this year.
I might have 3 this year. I think
Which would be a lot.
Sean over here tries about 3 a year.
I don't
2
do
or 3
murders.
a
You
year.
try 4 or 5 trials. I don't think you try 3 murders a year. That's a lot of murders.
Do you win some and lose some, or do you like win them all the time, or like what's? Do you have like a reputation for like
It's
You don't win them all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things that as a prosecutor, you only want to try a case that you think you can prove. So typically we try to try cases that we can win. But I would say, 3 out of 4 we win. Sometimes the jury finds reasonable doubt, and that's fine. That's the justice system. That's how it works. So.
If you were a teacher in the head of a classroom right now, and you were given like kind of explaining this to people that wanted to, that's what they want to do is
Yeah.
do what you're doing. What kind of advice would you give to them? What's the best advice each one of you would give to somebody like me that wanted to become a district attorney?
Spend some time in the courtroom.
Yeah.
A lot of people see all the glory in Law and Order, and given this opening
Watch all that
statement,
TV stuff.
So
this
much.
closing argument that's so dramatic and powerful,
Uh-huh.
but there's so much work that goes behind the scenes. There's so many witnesses that don't want to come to court. That
They
say,
don't want to get in trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
And Brad and I have worked a murder case before, and sometimes they'll tell you, F you, I'm not coming. And you've got to manage personalities. You've got to prep this, you got to prep that, and there's a lot of work behind the scenes. So I would say follow one of the shadow prosecutor, do an internship. Obviously, you got to go to undergrad, get your undergraduate degree. You've got to go to law school, get your law degree, and then take the bar. But go into your local DA's office and find out what they really do. But
what about you?
Um,
Like being a mentor, what's the advice you'd give?
Yeah, that's okay. I would say obviously you got to go to law school to be an ADA, so you have to get an undergraduate degree. It can mean anything. It's one thing that you don't have to be a pre-law major, any kind of major you want to do. But law schools is tough. It's grinding 3 years. But if you really want to do it, then you got to go to law school and focus on courtroom experience because we do a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and a lot of the job is that. But at the end of the day, you've got to be a courtroom attorney. You've got to try cases, be able to try them kind of on the fly without a lot of prep, and that just takes work to be able to do that. So I would just as much courtroom experience as you can get as a law student. But honestly, you don't have to specialize in a particular role in high school or college. Just go through high school, through college, get a degree, and then take the LSAT and you get to law school, and then you can kind of figure out what you want to do from there.
Do you have any interns now?
We do.
Yeah, we do. We have a summer internship program, and
we have both undergrad interns and law school interns. So again, that's a good thing to do too. If you're interested in DA's office, our office has an internship program both for UNCW students, both fall and spring. But then if you're from a different college, in the summer you can apply for an internship program. So it's something that a lot of people do.
And in North Carolina, law students under a mentor, I think, can try cases.
Okay.
So they can be in front of a jury if
so get the real
they get that real experience.
Like a learner's permit and
yeah.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
I guess it's
a good way to
supervise hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Make a residency if we're talking physicians and everything. But there's a lot of our prosecutors interned at one point with the DA's office somewhere.
Like to see them proud, they have that proud moment, like, oh, they really did it this time.
Yeah.
Doing a good job.
Yeah, I could think of a few that we have now.
I was a former intern at our office.
Yeah, there you go, Hannah.
Yeah.
We both entered other DA's offices.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
right.
So.
As far as your family aspect of this, I know you're married, kids.
I have two.
I have two.
Fur babies.
So how does your other half deal with this? I mean, as far as the dangerous part of it, because when you try and murders and you're getting involved with that, like, you obviously need to, I hate to say the word watch your back, but like, you have to just be careful. And I mean, you get these crazy people that unfortunately get let out on the street, and you don't want that to come back.
I grew up with that life, like that. My dad was in the SBI, so I mean, there were threats he would get or whatever. So I kind of knew that going in, and was not that
just knowing to be careful.
Like, I just kind of knew, like, that was just kind of like a part of it. But my husband is.
What does he do? What is your other half?
My husband works at Encino.
Okay,
so he's a computer person and cannot be less interested in this job. But like, safety-wise, like, I didn't take my husband's last name. He has a pretty unusual last name.
Okay.
So like, that kind of thing I think about, and I don't put my kids like.
So there are major precautions that you.
Yeah. So you think of things.
Yeah, social media, always got to watch what you put in social media, etc. You don't want to put yourself out there. But unfortunately, that's part of the job, is one of those things that you just have to kind of get used to the fact that if someone were to retaliate against you, you really just kind of have to protect yourself, and hopefully it doesn't happen. But there is that risk inherent in this job, and you can't really do this job without having to take on that risk. And it's just something that you hope and pray it never happens or something like that. And rarely does happen. I mean, it's one of those things that a lot of the defendants don't really know you per se. You're just the face of the courtroom, which kind of helps. But yeah, you honestly don't know what happens.
Are your fur babies Doberman pinchers?
I've got a Rottie Chow.
Oh wow!
Rottweiler
so
Chow mix.
It will bite somebody.
You could. Only bad people.
So what's the next step for the courthouse? What do you see? Are they going to make any improvements over there? Are they going to grow? Like, are they? I mean, you see like these hospitals. I mean, these doctor offices, they're popping up like Nova. As you see another Nova, another. Are they putting more? I mean, are they putting?
The biggest change. We had a huge change this past February, where for the last 150 years, all courts were done through paper documentation.
That was one that. Okay.
Everything was done on paper, and then in February, it's all electronic. So it all went to computer-based model.
What do you feel about that? Like, what's the downside and sort of the upside of that?
There's both of that side. The computer system, it's that we're using is not the most just intuitive to use. It's okay, but it takes a while to figure out. It takes a while to do things. A lot of people, the older attorneys, can't figure it out that well. So there's been a lot of growing pains with that. I think in the long run, it's probably good that we're moving to an electronic-based system. You can't do paper documents forever, but yeah, it's caused some major pains and some delays in court. Because honestly, I mean, district court, you're doing 50 to 60 pleas a day. In Superior Court, you may be doing 20 to 30 pleas in an admin session. And if it takes twice as long to do those pleas, that means everyone's got to wait longer. You've got to push cases out. It causes delays. That's what's happened with Odyssey.
It's a work in progress. Yeah. But our old system was like literally from the 80s.
Oh, wow.
So like,
so
imagine
time.
like Oregon Trail in like 1991,
yeah,
like kind of like the way it
was
looked.
basically Oregon Trail. Yep, exactly.
So we're adjusting. I gotta go, guys.
Okay, well,
Gotta go.
Amy White, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. Or me.
See you next time.
See you tomorrow.
Tell your mom I said, what's up? Forward motion dance, baby. So, gentlemen, all right, let's talk some more. I don't know. What
Let's
else
talk.
you got up your sleeve? Is there something you want to ask me about? Hey, look, I own a bar, and I mean, I have definitely had situations to be scared about because you would close late, and you have a lot of drunk people that, after 9 o'clock, a lot the hard time we have is we get the people that come, they've had their wine, they've had their cocktails at the nicer restaurants, and then they come here after they've had 2 or 3, and then that's when the tables turn. And I've had 2 restraining orders against crazy people that waiting for me to get off of work, and so that's why it's like for any job you can have those kind of scares where you just a guy was taking pictures of me and leaving work, and we found out he was putting them up in his house, and we had him police go there, and there was pictures of me all over the place, and it was literally the closest to like one of those crazy movies.
Ugh.
To see that
Yeah,
was
that's
just
not
very
good.
unsettling, and
Yeah.
I'm over it now. I've moved on. I've been able to cope with something like that, but it's just knowing to not just to when it's time to close, it's time to get home. Don't keep
Yeah.
going out, because that's when the things happen
Yep.
most of the time
Yep.
that can get in trouble. So
I think when you show your face to the public a lot, in any sense, you got to be vigilant, and you certainly do that, and we certainly do that as well, but in much different context. But I think the rule.
well, you
point
seem
made
really
is-
happy with what you do, and
Yeah,
that's got to
it's-
stand for something important.
It's a career. It is definitely not a job. I mean, if you just want to punch the clock on this, you have to have this burning passion inside you to be that minister of justice, to keep this going. And if you don't, you're just not going to make it. And that's happened, and that's fine. Some people go on to different practices of law and decide that being a prosecutor isn't for them. But
Because I would say a lot in most professions, law professions, pay more. 'Cause we're government employees. We have
Okay.
government salary, so we're not making bukus of money.
You can't ask for a raise anytime.
I mean, every now and then we get raises.
Say, look, I just want a
Yeah.
murder trial. Pay me a little
I
more.
mean, private practice attorneys get paid thousands of dollars for cases. We're getting paid a
Like the
monthly
OJ
salary.
situation, like that guy, the
We're getting paid
Kardashians'
a
dad.
monthly salary every month, no matter how many murders we do in that
Okay.
time. So it's just a different type of lifestyle. You got to really be passionate about what you do to do it. But again, it feels good to help your community. It feels good to bring justice to the situation. You have a murder victim, their family is just distraught, and then to help them through that process over the course of a couple of years and get a guilty verdict at trial is just really satisfying to do as part of work, and really feel like you've really helped people in need. So that's it's a great feeling as part of
So
this.
Yeah,
gratifying.
Brad and I are never going to drive a Ferrari on our salaries, but we live comfortably. But I'll tell you what. Recently, I tried a sex assault trial, and I had a victim in that case tell me. I gave an opening statement afterwards, and she told me, "Sean, hearing you give that opening statement was the first time that I heard somebody speak about what I experienced, but maybe to articulate that."
Wow.
And I felt more heard in that moment than I have in my entire life.
Yes.
And about that issue, and for her it was a game changer, and that had an effect on me when she told me that.
Makes you
And-
want to keep pursuing what you're
right,
doing.
right. So I mean, we have those moments, and Brad and I had, we prepped the biggest things together. He and I've worked on a murder case a year or two ago, and
I would say this is kind of like closing remarks, gentlemen. So is there something that you feel like you want to get out there to the public or the listeners that would be a little bit more interested to find out, like what would be something that they don't know already that, from not just watching TV, but
Yeah.
something that would just be beneficial for everybody to learn from this conversation today?
I tell them that law enforcement in general, I couldn't be more proud of men and women in law enforcement because they are talking about passion for what they do. They're working around the clock, and
That's
sometimes
a 24-hour day job,
all the time.
7 days a week.
And I would like the public to know that there are dedicated individuals that they'll maybe never meet and never hear from, that are working around the clock, that call us sometimes at 3, 4 in the morning on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Saturday, whenever. And they're working on the case, and they're on it, and they're passionate about what they do. And likewise, on the other side of that phone call are prosecutors that are passionate about what they do. You heard about Connie Jordan, who's a rock star, and there's 19 or so other prosecutors that are rock stars too.
So there's
And
19 of you altogether?
There's 22 full-time prosecutors.
I think we could, including Pitter County, there's 3 in
Yep.
Pitter, so I think 22 altogether. Yep.
Well, I'm so grateful for y'all coming on today. We've been talking about doing this for a while, and I just think that a lot of people don't understand how much work goes into these things to keep our community safe, and to keep Wilmington safe, and we're so fortunate to live in a beautiful city, and you just continue to see it grow, and it is getting better and better, and we're very fortunate to live in such a great place, and thanks for the judicial system in Wilmington for having a big part of that.
Appreciate that, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, guys, for tuning in, and we look forward to getting this out next week. So if you're interested in going to the court and coming to see a case, hit me up. I'll point you in the right direction, or any
Courts
questions.
are always open to the public, so anybody that wants to come watch court, they can do it anytime. There's fourth floor is generally Superior Court, which are the higher level cases.
The more interesting ones.
Oh.
Well, the traffic ones have got to be kind of interesting sometimes.
Sometimes you get some crazy cases and misdemeanors, and
Yeah.
communicating threats or some kind of, it's kind of juicy with those things.
My friend, Assistant District Attorney Ward Coleman, could say that there's some pretty interesting stuff down there at 317.
317.
Courtrooms, 200 and 300 are the lower level ones that can be interesting, and the fourth floor are the bigger trials. So, yeah, if anyone wants to come watch, we'd love to actually have. My dad comes watch. I love having guests and family come watch me because it's fun. It's one of those things that you
See you in
can't
action.
yeah, exactly. It's kind of interesting to see, to get everybody's perspective of it.
You're like, come see what I do every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's one of those few jobs there. It is part of the public forum that you can come watch. So,
Come see us, Jesse. We don't want to wait until you get a traffic ticket.
No.
We'll see you on traffic court Friday.
No, I had this conversation with Jason or Chad. I said, I couldn't even go there or get tried because most of you are my friends, some of you. And, I don't want, he's like, you're going to be shipped to another county for that.
Yeah.
What if it keeps going?
Sampson County, probably.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
who knows? Wow. Hey, I grew up in Winnebago, so that right there will tell you. We can keep going. Brunswick County is my home. But, gentlemen, thank you so much. And I appreciate you coming on today.
yeah.
Thanks, Jesse.
So much.
Thank you.